Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, will you please do the roll call?
I will. Annette Schreiner,
Here.
Bob Eyre,
Yes.
Jim Salsbury,
Yes.
Dick Long,
Present.
Adjourn.
Brilliant. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 19th, 2025 Bryan Board of Public Affairs meeting. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the August 5th, 2025 meeting. Everyone, you have been presented with a copy of the minutes from that meeting. Are there any corrections or adjustments to the minutes? Or questions? If there are none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. I'll second. I'm sorry, Jim.
Dick,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes. Next on the agenda is a hearing of public concerns. Anyone in the audience would like to come up to the podium? Seeing none. Next on the agenda is the Clerk-Treasurer's Report. John.
Yes, board, like we do every month, but the board has received the financial statements, the bank reconciliations, and associated reports for the month ended July 31. And I would entertain any questions you might have now, or of course you can always call me.
Everyone, you've looked at the Clerk-Treasurer's Report. May I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the Clerk-Treasurer's Report.
I'll second.
Karen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Dick.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is a resolution. John, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 27, 2025, authorizing the mayor to submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to execute contracts as required, and declaring an emergency.
Derek.
Yeah, so what we're looking at doing is submitting an application for a water line project on East Mulberry Street. If you recall, we currently have the 700 to 900 block water line project on East Mulberry. That's also receiving funding through OPWC. It won't be completed until 2026. So this application is going to be an extension of that project. Still working on the exact project scope between the city and BMU Engineering. The deadline to submit the application is September 12th. So again, this resolution would just authorize the mayor to submit the application.
I do have one question, Derek. I read through it, said 50% financial assistance. Is that a limit that we can approve?
So it's, we could receive up to 50% of the project cost.
Okay, so that's the maximum.
Yes.
So you couldn't go for 75
No.
or 100%? Okay, thank you.
There's a dollar cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering how that, I saw 50%, I'm thinking myself going, okay,
Up to
50%, can you go
50%,
65? Can you go,
Tops
you know?
275.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone have any other questions or comments? May I have a motion to approve resolution number 27?
So moved. Second.
Jim,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is another resolution. John, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 28, 2025, authorizing the Director of Utilities to accept construction change directive number 2 from Beilharz Architects for the new electric warehouse.
Derek.
Beilharz, they issued some updated construction documents. They recommended the following change directive. This would be change directive number 2. They're necessary to address site conditions and stormwater requirements. There was a couple of items in the change directive. The first one was building pad modifications. They had to remove some unstable soil during the excavation. This was observed by the soils engineer. So that unstable soil, it was saturated, it was wet. So they had to replace it until they could pass the proof roll or the compaction testing. This represented an additional cost of $17,000. Also, we had to have a catch basin installed. It replaced an old catch basin. The existing one couldn't support the additional tile. It would have, structurally, it couldn't hold another tile, so we had to replace it. This represented an additional cost of $4,700. And then we removed some concrete from the project. In the scope, there was concrete in between the existing building and the new building. And to help control cost and reduce our cost, we eliminated some concrete there. So that resulted in a $14,500 reduction. Change directive number 2 total is an increase of $7,200 with the original contract. Change directive number 1 that you approved, and change directive number 2, the subtotal of the project would be $1,296,542. And then with our testing agreement and permit fees, total project cost to date, $1,312,530. The electric capital budget had $1.4 million appropriated for the project. So change directive number 2 is an increase of $7,200.
Quick question. By omitting the concrete work, what happens? Is it just plain stone?
Just stone.
And down the future, there's no need for concrete work?
Stone will be suitable.
Okay.
Any more questions about change order directive number 2 for the warehouse?
I just want to ask Al, now that you see the outline of that up there, it's going to give you enough room that he thought it would. It's different when you see
The extra 2 feet of head space is a lot better, we're able to offset the door, offset over to the end. Our old warehouse had to be in the middle. So when we pulled in, now offset the door because we have a 2-foot extra space, gives us more room inside. So I think it'll be really, really nice to have that, so.
enough room for all the vehicles and equipment and
Yeah.
shelving and.
Materials, all this stuff we have set outside, is going to be undercover.
Does that include the transformers?
No,
Okay.
transformers have to stay where they're at because we put in the containment system there.
Okay. All right, so they'll be the only pieces of equipment that are left outside.
Yes, yeah. That and street light poles, our poles, of course, have to be outside.
Right, you have a place for those, yeah. Okay, very good, thank you.
And is the project still on time for
Yes.
completion?
Yes, they replaced, or they got all the red steel set on last Friday, so that was a big, having it all there on the ground, now it's all erected, and they got it done within a week. I mean, they're really going to town on it, I think, and, the bricklayers moved in a couple days ago, so they're gonna start doing the masonry work. So, really coming along.
Substantial completion is November 14th.
Any other questions or comments for Al or Derek? May I have a motion to approve resolution number 28?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Bob?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Dick?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is another resolution. John, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 29, 2025, authorizing the Director of Utilities and Whitney Associates to develop and issue a request for proposals for a solar array project in the city of Bryan.
Derek?
Hey, good evening. We've got prepared just a short slide deck here, discuss the potential for the solar array project. But before we go through the slide, we want to just take a minute and introduce John Courtney from Courtney and Associates. Probably a familiar face to many of you, but he's been assisting us as we've been discussing this project, and he's going to help us walk through some of the information tonight. So, welcome, John. Again, the purpose is to introduce the concept of developing a new municipal solar array. This project would help us reduce our reliance on non-renewable energy sources, and also has the potential to lower energy costs over time. And as we go through the slides, we'll get to the end, but we do want to propose to develop and issue an RFP. And this is just kind of the first step in the process that will allow us to gather more information and make informed decisions as we move forward. So why consider solar now? If we take a look at our energy strategy and our portfolio, there's several reasons to consider developing additional solar. Energy prices continue to rise and fluctuate, and the energy landscape is clearly changing. By acting now, attractive developer incentives may still be available, as well as federal tax credits. Solar also offers stable long-term power supply solutions. Additionally, it can help offset our peak demand, reducing our utility charges and their transmission and capacity savings, which are benefits that directly impact our customers. And then this effort also supports the board's 25% renewable energy goal. So what's been done? We've taken a few early steps to help evaluate the viability of this project. This included working with John as well as you and city staff. And a lot of discussions just stemmed around from, is this a project that's worth pursuing and does it make sense? And the consensus from that was it does make sense to continue pursuing this. We reviewed multiple locations, and ultimately we identified approximately 14.5 acres of unused land just east of the wastewater treatment plant. And you can see the green highlight there is the 14.5 acres we're talking about. With the help of John, preliminary assessment helped determine it could support up to a 4 megawatt solar array. And then we also initiated a system impact study through AEP, and really just to ensure that this project wouldn't negatively affect the grid or the performance and reliability of the grid. The results of that study were positive. AEP required no upgrades and essentially gave us approval for a project like this. Additionally, the study was completed at no cost. And it really kind of confirmed that basic project viability and kind of gave us some confidence to continue pursuing this project. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to John for a little bit and have him talk about what some of the estimated costs of energy would be from a project like this. Sure.
Hello again. It's been a while.
Hi, John.
Yeah, so basically what the slide gives you is a breakdown of what the potential savings you could be looking at with the proposed solar project. So, the first line up there, 8 cents a kilowatt hour, that's roughly what we're seeing from other similar projects right now. The price of solar has kind of fluctuated over the last several decades, but the most recent RFP we did was basically in that price range, and it was a much smaller project. Typically, as projects are larger, the price goes down, kind of inversely. So We never know for sure until we do an RFP what the price will be. Just depends on, what the developers come up with. But I will say this, and part of the reason maybe for, trying to push this project forward a little quicker than later, as you're probably all aware, there's been some major changes in the incentives that are available, the federal incentives in particular, for these types of projects. It's called investment tax credits. And, as a result of the big, beautiful bill that was recently passed, some of those incentives are going to go away, and it's going to be a little tougher to try to get some of those incentives. So I think it, in best interest to kind of move forward, assuming you want to move forward quicker than later on this project, and try to capture that lower price. So the rest of the slide then basically shows you what your savings or avoided costs are associated with the solar. First, most obvious is you avoid energy costs because it's going to displace energy you're currently buying from the market. That energy, on average, because solar only produces obviously during the day, so we're getting most of that energy during the on-peak period when prices are higher. So the average energy cost, based on when the solar is producing, current market's right around 5 cents a kilowatt hour for that. So you're looking at avoiding, just right off the top, roughly 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And in addition to that, as Derek said earlier, you've got the ability then to also avoid capacity costs that you pay through PJM. And those capacity costs on the per kilowatt hour of the solar equate to about 2.7 cents a kilowatt hour. And they can also avoid AP transmission costs. Now, excuse me, this one gets a little more difficult because AP's transmission peak, and you're billed based on your contribution, your load at the time of the AEP system, the transmission system peak, sometimes occurs during the hot summer days, which is ideal for solar because that's when the solar is at its best output. But unfortunately, AEP occasionally peaks on those cold winter mornings, and we've had the last couple of years we've actually had that happen. So what I'm showing you here, the 2.05 cents a kilowatt hour, is based on the assumption that AEP is going to peak in the summer every other year. Because in the wintertime, you basically don't see any transmission savings. But in the summer, you actually see about a little over 4 cents. So I basically assume that every other year, you're going to get, the summer peak, the other years, you're going to get the winter peak. But on average, you're looking at avoiding about a little over 2 cents a kilowatt hour. So this next item, sale of RECs. As you know, you currently have with your solar project, you're selling RECs, as I'm sure you're aware. And right now, that market's pretty favorable for selling Ohio RECs in Pennsylvania. So, but I left this number off because really it's a question of whether you want to retain the RECs or whether you want to, dispose or sell those RECs. So I didn't include it in the analysis, but right now, Ohio solar RECs are going for about 2.5 cents a kilowatt hour. So in addition to these other savings that I mentioned, you do have the potential for another about 2.5 cents a kilowatt hour by selling the RECs. So total savings without the sale of the RECs is about 9.75 cents for a net savings, net negative cost of about 1.75 cents. So again, and we've seen this with other projects. We've got about, I think last count, about 20 different solar projects that clients, including the one that you already got, that we've been involved with. I think I'll total about 50 megawatts. But they're all been pretty successful at achieving these kind of savings from their solar projects. I'm going to turn it back over to Derek, but if you got any questions regarding the cost.
Yeah, quick question. So my understanding is that someone will come in and pay to develop the solar field, and we buy the electricity that's generated from them.
Yeah, what we're talking about is basically a power purchase agreement.
Okay,
A little different than the way you did your first solar project.
okay,
That solar project you did as a lease arrangement with Key Bank.
right,
It was actually kind of really like ownership because you were obligated to pay for the lease payments whether the project generated or not.
right, okay.
So it's kind of like, really like if you don't own it yourself, it's just really a way to finance it. You ultimately bought that out, you now own it yourself, and so, in fact, it's got, some pretty low cost now that you got a pretty good deal on the buyout, so. Under a power purchase agreement, what you do is the developer, the owner of the project,
Right.
is gonna take on all the risk and all the costs before you develop in the project. And then you're gonna agree to pay a price. And again, it may be the 8-cent number, it may be a little more, it may be a little less. But under that arrangement, you only pay for the energy that it delivers. It's what we call take and pay contract.
Into our system.
In your system,
Okay. So it's not being sold into the grid?
no, it's reducing the amount of energy that you're
That
gonna
we
be
purchasing from the grid?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But the key is that you're only paying for what you receive. If that developer builds a project and 2 years later it has a problem, it can't generate or can't
Right.
generate full output,
Okay,
well, that's his risk because you're only gonna pay for what he delivers.
okay.
And what did,
Yeah, right.
and what did you call that?
It's a power purchase
No,
agreement.
there was another term you used.
Take
in
or
there.
pay.
Well, it's actually called a take and pay
Okay.
contract.
You only pay for what you take.
Yeah, you pay for what you take.
John, would it make any sense for us to have it built and own it?
Well, that's an option to you. A few years ago, I would have said that doesn't make any sense because you wouldn't be able to sell you wouldn't be able to take advantage of the investment tax credits.
Yeah.
Because you're not a taxable entity. But the IRA bill that passed, excuse me, it made a change where it allowed you to monetize those. You as a non-profit entity, so to speak, could actually monetize those investment tax credits. So yeah, and that's still there, that's still available to you. But given the changes that are taking place with the big beautiful bill, I'm not sure you want to take on the risk because, there's so many changes that are taking place that, I wouldn't recommend that you would consider doing it this time. Now, granted, if you owned it yourself, you'd have a lower interest rate than the private developer would for the debt. But again, then you take on that risk that if something happens to it and it doesn't generate, well, you're on the hook for that debt service. That's kind of the take or pay. In other words, you're
Right.
paying whether it generates or not. So,
Got it.
so I would certainly not recommend that you try to own it yourself. I think it makes more sense to do a power purchase agreement with the developer, let them take on the risk. And, they're gonna make some profit off of it, but you're not absorbing any of that risk.
Good question. This project, how many megawatts will it generate?
Well,
Projected.
we ran the site by one of the developers that, we're familiar with.
Yeah.
They came back with about a 4 megawatt size. They think that they can do about 4 megawatts. That would generate about 4% of your energy.
Okay, so our total portfolio will be approximately 4%.
About 4% of your total energy requirement.
So on a peak day, let's say July, you would recommend, it would be 4% or it would be?
Well, on a peak day in July, when your load's about 35 megawatts.
Right.
It's gonna be doing about 10%.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought, okay.
Now, solar projects only produce about, what we call a 20% capacity factor. So they don't, because they only generate during sunlight, and they have to ramp up and ramp back down.
In January, when there's very little, it's probably not gonna be,
Well, you'll get less energy in the winter, but actually you'll find, and we've seen this, actual experience, that you get some sunny days in the winter where you actually get real close to full output.
right. I'm looking on peak day when it's minus 15 degrees.
Well, and in particular, Bob, the real problem, like I said, is the AP transmission system peaks at about 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, in the
Yeah,
wintertime.
there's no sun.
There's no sunshine.
Sun doesn't show, there's not that short time, so, okay.
John, do we know how many panels will be in this project?
We won't know until we get proposals in, Jim, because, and the developers don't all use the same types of panels, the same size or types of panels. That's part of the evaluation process. But, so, yeah, I really couldn't give you a figure on how many panels.
What's driving the interest for them to develop these type of projects?
The developers?
Yeah,
Well, because they're gonna make some money off of it. I mean, they're in business to make a profit.
right,
so-
exactly.
So that's their, reasoning for, wanting to build projects.
Okay, so with the big beautiful bill, so we're on a time frame that they're probably looking at that on their profit motive. It's gonna be probably less than what.
Well, it could be, but again, we just won't know till we see, what they give us. The key right now is timing.
Yeah, grandfathered in or not.
Last Friday, we got new guidance for the Internal Revenue Service on what will qualify and what won't qualify for these tax credits.
Sure.
And right now, it looks like if you can get a project started quickly and get it built quickly, you're still probably gonna, be able to get those credits. So,
Those
again,
grandfather goes in.
Yep, part of the reason for trying to move quicker than
Sure, I understand.
John, okay, if we send out the RFPs, of course, you get the solar builders that give us proposals for this. Can we pick and choose?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes the low price isn't.
You know where I'm going, Derek, because
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
not want to do business with Rudolph Libby or Jen.
We probably aren't gonna send them one unless they ask.
Yeah.
And I understand.
I'm right there too.
Quick question. How long is the purchase agreement?
Typically 25 to 30 years.
25, 30 years?
Yeah, typically, and oftentimes they'll have extension, options to extend another 5 or
Okay.
2 5-year extensions.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the norm.
The norm, okay.
To get you the lowest price. If you can go with shorter term, but then you're gonna just end up
Higher price.
paying a higher price per kilowatt hour.
Still recover the cost, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, and we typically, while we don't require it necessarily, we suggest to the developers that they would want to submit a flat, fixed price for the duration of the term. In other words, we try to avoid escalated prices, but we can do that. We're doing a floating solar project over in Monroeville that has a 2% a year annual escalation. But that got us a lower starting number, but, I got another client that's got one of those that's been in it almost 10 years, and all of a sudden, the price is
Yeah.
pretty high, so. Yeah, that's pretty much what we ask them. We get,
I would imagine if they're developing, they're gonna have some cost, and therefore they can spread those fixed costs over what they anticipate the kilowatts will be
yeah,
generated.
but the majority of their costs are gonna be basically the capital costs. The
Right,
additional
exactly, that's the investment.
There is O&M, there's insurance costs, that type of thing. but
Variables.
The big chunk is, for them, is basically that initial capital.
John?
But they do get to depreciate it off, and they do get tax benefits.
I was just gonna say, there's definitely incentives.
Do they lease that piece of
Yeah,
ground?
they would need to lease, we'd have to work out a lease agreement.
Okay.
Ground lease agreement with them to utilize the land, which is actually, I think, part of the wastewater system.
It is.
So we'll have to, work with the city and with the, on that part, so.
Okay.
Other questions? I'm gonna turn this back over to Derek.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Please.
I think everything pretty much on this line has been covered, so just kind of go to the last slide to conclude. We would recommend that the board authorize the staff to proceed with developing and issuing an RFP with the assistance of John. And as he mentioned, we would prefer to structure this under a power purchase agreement. And authorizing this resolution allows staff to move forward with the process. Authorization of this resolution does not commit you to a solar project. This simply is going to allow us to further evaluate the project through a competitive process. Any additional questions?
What kind of time frame will there be? Because this may be more of, kind of let's get this going kind of a project. What kind of a time frame?
The RFP process will probably typically take, we like to give them at least 3 weeks from when we send it out. So they've got adequate time to come look at the site, do their due diligence. Once we get those back, usually another 2 to 3 weeks to review them, depends on how many. Last one we did, we only had 3 respondents. So, the fewer we get, the quicker, we can evaluate them. And so you're probably looking at about 1.5 to 2 months to be able to come back in and give you a recommendation on what we see.
And will you also do the credibility check, background check?
Absolutely. Well, we actually do that in advance, Bob.
Yeah, I was
We
gonna
only
say.
send it to people that we've had experience with.
They have somebody come in there and have completed, and then they leave.
Yeah, and if somebody wants if they want a copy of it, we'll give it to them.
Yeah.
But if we're not familiar with them, then they're gonna have to give us a lot of references. 'Cause
Yeah,
But typically, we're going to send it to people that we're familiar with and we've had experience with, we know that they can do the
Credible.
job. Yeah.
Yep, okay. I'll make a motion to accept.
I have to-
I'm sorry.
Any more questions for questions or comments about resolution number 29? No? May I have a motion to accept resolution 29?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Bob,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is to effect the semi-monthly disbursements, so pay the bills.
I will make a motion that we pay the bills.
I'll second.
Jim,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is comments from BPA and staff. Derek, I'd like to start with you, please.
Just a couple real quick ones. Want to congratulate Noah Landell. He recently completed his intermediate line worker training at AMP, so congratulations to him. That was 2 week-long sessions that had been spread out over the summer, so great job to him. And then also just want to wish John DeGroff well in his retirement. His last day of work is quickly approaching, so wish him the best of luck. And also want to thank John for coming tonight and presenting with us.
John?
I don't have anything else.
Al?
We've been working out in Deerfield, getting that directional boring project started out there on the north side, so it's going a little slow, but we're learning the directional drill and everything, and getting that project rolling. And we also been replacing old 30-year street lights in East Village, so kind of projects we've been working on electrically.
Thank you. Mr. Betts? John, do you have anything else to add for tonight?
I don't.
Paper? Karen?
Well, I will say yes, congratulations to Noah Landell, and do wish John DeGroff happiness in his retirement. He's been here a long time, and he and I have talked a lot, so do wish him well, and I think that's it.
Ditto what Karen said. And thanks for coming up, John. I haven't seen you in a while.
I could see you.
Appreciate your presentation. That's all I have.
Jim?
I'd just like to thank John too for the presentation. It was informative. It was.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to share that there's a great article in the Public Power magazine that came out. It's about communicating electric price changes without losing customer satisfaction. And when I read through it, I thought to myself, this is pretty timely for us because of the water plant treatment costs that potentially be coming up. And there was 2 utilities of how they addressed their customers on something like similar to what we're going to be going into. Give you an example. The one utility company down in Indianapolis, Landon, about 10,000 customers, which is close to ours. They pretty much came across selling that their power plant is kind of like a mortgage versus a fixed cost, so that people understand it. So it's an interesting article, and I recommend everybody maybe take some note to read it, and I think it would be helpful for us as we're going with our water treatment plant. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I just want to say, Noah, keep up the good work. Congratulations on John DeGroff's retirement. And to the other John, thanks for helping explain that. It makes it a lot clearer.
Yep.
So I don't have anything else. So with that said, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting for today.
So moved.
Second?
Dick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and Karen.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.